Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. It's time for us to speak on Cardano and everything going on. We're going to be looking at, of course, the Celsius news, the lawsuit itself, Robinhood delisting Cardano, Solana, and Polygon, and also today we had news from Bakkt that actually delisted the same tokens that Robinhood did. In regards to fears of regulatory uncertainty, we'll play a clip. It's not a clip, it's a sort of voiceover from a Twitter space of Charles Hoskinson talking about the whole thing. It's just a very interesting situation. And then we're going to link it all to the price action, the kind of interest perhaps in Cardano at the moment. You know, what my thoughts are generally as somebody who's invested in Cardano. You'll know that we got back into the markets after being out of them for most of 2022 in January. Cardano is right around where it was in January. It did dip below and put in a marginally lower low, which means that we cannot say that this is out of a bear market yet. And given everything going on, does it look likely to hold here? Well, I think potentially it's the wrong time to sell up until it isn't, if that makes sense, because ultimately you are at a local low point here. You're at what looks so far to be support. It's never a good idea to short support, and you're selling at a real low point. But we'll talk about the price action. You know, we've been validated by pretty much every single market except for some of the altcoins. Bitcoin, we think, is now in a bull market. We think the total market cap of the cryptocurrency market is in a bull market. We think many altcoins are also now in bull markets. Stock market has absolutely killed it as predicted. So has gold, so on and so forth. The only market that's kind of swimming against what we assess the macro tide to be is the altcoin market. And there's no doubt in my mind, and this is not an excuse, that this has been brought on. The price action, I think the bears got a really lucky break with the SEC. Actually, technically, we thought Cardano looked quite good. Around about your 30, 40 cents range. And of course, we've really been buying it since the start of January. So I'll share all my thoughts from a price action point of view, from a sort of technical point of view, I guess. But I really just want to go over everything that's happened and bring everyone up to date and share some thoughts as I go along. And we're going to start off, of course, with the lawsuit. So we know what's caused is actually more of a brutal sell-off for Cardano. Is this the biggest red candle body that we've seen? Potentially. Obviously, during this bear market, it's been lots of sort of bleeding out. You've got to remember, and I know this from a kind of insider point of view, that with something like Cardano, all cryptocurrencies, their native tokens often get sold by the foundations and the projects building on top of them. Consistently, this is why you have this kind of bleed out until the buy pressure overwhelms the sell pressure, which we'll speculate on, is that likely to come anytime soon for Cardano, given the interest. But ultimately, you know, Cardano got hit and named specifically in not just the Coinbase lawsuit, which this is from, but the BINANCE lawsuit, and essentially implied that it was a security. It talks about when Cardano was created, the initial supply, the token sale, which actually didn't even take part in the United States. It took part in Japan. And then the real interesting thing for me is the fact that today 3 entities are responsible for Cardano. This is the kind of common enterprise, how we test side of things. The Cardano Foundation, a Swiss entity with legal custody, is the legal custodian of the Cardano protocol and owner of its brand. IOHK, which I don't think is correct, maybe the branding part of it, but not the actual blockchain. IOHK, an engineering company controlled by Hoskinson and Wood, responsible for designing and building. And then, of course, Emergo, which haven't really done a great deal in a long time. I'm sure anybody that keeps up with the Cardano community and everything going on will be able to testify that. And it's basically implying that it's a security based on a number of things, and certainly these 3 entities being one of them. And that they are the reason why you're investing in Cardano through their common enterprise in order to increase the price. Now, I'd argue that's absolutely not true. We've seen the Hinman documents come out, which are very interesting, and Hinman gave Ethereum a free pass. We've also seen JP Morgan, and please go and watch my daily cryptocurrency market update video from earlier on, guys, where we look at JP Morgan, and it's very coincidental. They've come out in favor of Ethereum and say, this is good for Ethereum. They're going to be this other category, kind of in line with what Hinman said, despite Hinman being told not to do that and warned that it would cause regulatory uncertainty. Give Ethereum the free pass, even though Ethereum have similar foundations, similar organizations. They also sold 70,000 Ethereum to double their runway, quote unquote, from Vitalik Buterin back in 2017. So they've sold tokens to fund development, like what they've accused Ripple, Brad, and Chris are doing. It's something not quite right. And it's also very interesting that they've gone after predominantly so-called ETH killers, ETH competitors like Cardano. Whether you believe Cardano is an Ethereum competitor or not is entirely up to you. Of course, we do. We think Cardano is actually a very impressive blockchain, not only in principle, but in actual functionality now. So this, of course, has massively, as we speculated, this drop was caused by spot selling from institutions within the United States who are worried about regulatory persecution. That's that. Now, there's a yin and a yang here, bullish and bearish take, is that, okay, well, what's left? Again, we've been buying Cardano since the start of the year, along with lots of cryptos. We still very much assess that Bitcoin is in a bull market. We think the macro trend is bullish. We've got pretty much every single market spot on, except for some altcoins that essentially have had a marginally lower low, still around January's low, so we've not been massively wrong, depending on what unfolds next, in regards to the direction we think everything's going. You know, if you look at gold, new all-time highs, stock market we think is going to new all-time highs, so on and so forth. But this isn't a macro video. But this was caused by spot selling as a result of all this. We've had confirmation consistently. You know, we looked at liquidations that took place. We said, okay, it's not that. It's got to be spot. We saw that Robinhood ends support this on a Friday, and it sold off in Saturday night for all tokens named in the SEC lawsuit. The trading platform will end support for Cardano, ADA, POLYGON, MATIC, and SOLANA on June the 27th. So people have been getting rid of this. Remember, we saw a similar thing with eToro in specific to Cardano. Today, or actually going into the weekend that's just gone, back delist Solana, Polygon, and Cardano, citing lack of regulatory clarity. We also have news about Celsius, who's of course a bankrupt company that still holds user funds, that are going to sell all those user funds and roll them into BTC and Ethereum, undoubtedly for the reasons of not wanting to be persecuted regulatory when they're already in issue. And it could be also and this is another take that I'm toying with, is that they think that these cryptos are maybe going to get impacted even more so as a result of everything. So they want to hold and maintain value in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the total altcoin sell pressure amounts to $250 million. I've seen more liquidations than that. It's not a particularly huge sum. Certainly if you look at ADA at 27 million, but it's significant at a time where there's not much interest and not much buy pressure, and people are scared to buy these specific altcoins that could tilt the price. This is a very hard call for me to make here. I wouldn't short this, but at the same time, can I say absolutely that this is going to hold? You know, could you drift and put in a bit of a marginally lower low like you've already done? You're basically at January's levels. What we're looking for with altcoins now, a lot of them is this kind of double bottom scenario. Bitcoin's leading the way. You know, the macro we've got right. It's just the altcoins that have been hit by the SEC. Not an excuse. I didn't see it coming. Got caught short. I got stopped. Fortunately, not on ADA. We actually got stopped on a Litecoin trade, believe it or not. I think that was the only trade I got stopped on and not liquidated. But it's all very interesting what's going on here. And this is undoubtedly going to be some sell pressure. Are there other people to come out of the woodworks and do similar things? Cardano gets such a bad rap in the media. You know, this was interesting. So Solana, which is in the exact same spotlight as Cardano, that is significantly more down than Cardano, that we can actually see losing more and more dominance and continue to get hit very bloody hard, harder than Cardano in the coming future, gets a lot better rap than the likes of Cardano. This is why is Cardano's price down today. I never see positive articles on Cardano, or I might see them once in a blue moon. And then right next, you've got how Solana uses Saga to buy and sell crypto. Okay. You know, it's very interesting. We'll look at a quick clip from Charles in just a second. We'll talk about price and round things off. But a lot has gone on, and it's exceptionally unfair. And it's interesting that they've gone after the kind of so-called ETH killers. And then in the video that I did earlier, my daily market update, we looked at actually the fact that JP Morgan own a significant chunk of, or an influential share in the kind of Ethereum development side of things. and it's my opinion. I'm not a securities and commodities lawyer. You know, my background's in dentistry. I've been in crypto now for 5 years, 2000 and early 2017. So longer than 5 years now, you know, coming up 6-7 years. Been looking at Bitcoin all the way from the sort of Silk Road days back in 2012. But I'm not a securities lawyer. So this is just my thoughts and my take is that if you look at the free pass that was given to Ethereum and this whole ETHGate situation, the reasons for Hinman saying Ethereum's not a security based on the decentralization aspect actually probably applies more so to the likes of Cardano. So with the SEC, to me, this is a real power grab. They're seeing what they can get. You know, they don't even agree internally. They don't agree with other organizations. They can't even answer if Ethereum's a security or not when pressed to answer that in front of Congress. So what they're doing is they're going to the courts and saying, what can we get here? Let's see if we can win some of these and get a triumph for the SEC and the agency. All in the name of protecting investors, I may add. Do you feel protected as a Cardano investor? Do you feel like the SEC is working towards or doing things for your benefit? I don't, personally. However, that's just my own take. So I don't believe that Cardano is a security. However, I'm not a lawyer, so please don't take that as gospel. I can see a bit of turbulent times ahead. You know, we still remain Cardano holders. We got out for a lot of this downside and took a position. It's very hard to sort of get rid of it here. However, I honestly can't say that I'm that confident that this isn't going to drift lower. I have to be honest. And I think it's all to do with everything going on. I think it's fair. I think it's the delistings. I think it's the persecution, the regulatory uncertainty. I'm not going to be selling here. I will tell you that right now. If you want to find out what I'm buying, where I'm buying, please do consider joining the Patreon for anybody that's interested. But there does come a point where this does look like potentially it could drift lower. So I'm very much on the fence. You know, we ultimately are investing in Cardano for the long term. We think it's going to do very well as a blockchain. Again, I think it's very impressive, both on paper and actually now fundamentally. We really love this kind of sidechain layer 2 model that we're seeing arise for Cardano. And actually, we think it's, you know, it's going to be a wonderful blockchain that's here to stay. However, part and parcel of anything getting to where it needs to go is a journey, and this is just part of Cardano's journey. So from an immediate price point of view, I have to just sort of say, look, I wouldn't short here because you're very much in a double bottom range. You know, this is very much exhausted sell pressure, but can I see an uptick in Cardano? I need to see it in the price first. I need to see this bid up. I need to see that positive price movement. Looking at it now at a time where literally there's no interest. This isn't just Cardano. You know, we could look at crypto is probably a little bit of a better example here. You know, no one's interested in crypto right now. Where's this buy pressure going to come from? We've still got teams that will be selling ADA, probably stake pool operators that will be selling ADA. Is the buy pressure going to get masked, certainly as we see this continue to unfold? Or has the worst of it already been behind us? You know, the Celsius news is very interesting. It's going to certainly create buy pressure for Bitcoin, Ethereum, which may benefit the entire space and eat up some of that sell pressure, but we'll see. I wouldn't short here. I'd also wait to see some strength. So I'd like to get more ADA. We did buy some ADA recently at sort of 26 cents as a DCA bag. But you need to see that strength come in before you get some sort of confirmation and you can be sort of confident. This has been brutal. It's part and parcel. Ultimately, again, we think Cardano is going to see new all-time highs again. It's just going to take a while. Things to look out for moving forward are things like the XRP or the Ripple Brad and Chris lawsuit. That gets resolved positively, which we think it will do because of technical reasons, more so than fundamental and following it and knowing everything about it. But that could have a very positive slant and see this sort of positive price action come in. You know, if you start seeing something like this, you come back up, you know, you support the technicals that we were talking about. We were actually looking bloody good here, in my opinion, because just like many of your altcoins, you'd ran into support, you retraced like they do more violently because their altcoins are small market cap liquidity, and then the SEC hit and drove it down. So maybe you get this restab. We'll look at this. But a lot of uncertainty. So I wouldn't short here. That's my own personal take. But I'd really watch and see what happens. We need to see some strength come in, and at a time when there's not much crypto interaction, you know, you've got whales, you've got other things out there, all things to watch. I want to love and leave you on some thoughts from Charles Hoskinson on he's currently in the Pacific Ocean hunting for aliens. What a time! I want to play a clip of his thing where he's sort of talking about the situation and everything going on, and you know, sharing some of his views, because I think he's been quite quiet about it all. I can totally understand why you would be quiet about it all. If you look at the amount of money that Ripple has spent fighting the lawsuit, it's in the hundreds of millions. So not multiple hundreds of millions, but 100 million plus. Probably getting on by the time it's finished at 200 million. Do others have that sort of money to fight in the same manner? Coinbase we know do, Binance we know do, but some of these smaller crypto projects, the SEC always pick the low-hanging fruit. I'm not saying Cardano's low-hanging fruit, but some crypto projects have already just agreed to settle it for, you know, because they don't want to fight it. SEC have a very good win record. However, nothing's actually been brought forward to Cardano. They've just sort of hinted at it in a lawsuit. There's a lot to unfold. The uncertainty factor here makes me kind of, I just want to see how things play out before I get confident in any kind of conviction. You know, we were pretty confident that altcoins were going to do well, certainly Cardano. Just like we've seen Bitcoin do, just like we've seen other altcoins do. However, SEC news hit it down. So let's play this clip. I'll stop waffling on, and then I'll love and leave you. Let's see if we can get the sound on here. There we go.
Hello and welcome, AdaBucks.
Hey, how's it going, Charles? Big fan, you know. I'm starting to get a little worried, not fully, but, you know, it seems like the SEC is on a warpath specifically for Cardano and other decentralized cryptos. I know crypto is much bigger than the US and the SEC, but just curious, what are your thoughts, how this might all play out?
Well, I mean, it's certainly an interesting situation. It almost reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Principal Skinner is chasing Bart, and he first goes to the museum, and then he goes to the club, and it's abandoned, and he says, "Am I so much out of touch?" And he's like, "No, it's the children who are wrong." That's basically where we're at as an industry, man. I mean, when you go after everybody, you're basically going after nobody. And I can't for the life of me understand how the facts and circumstances of Ethereum, for example, are different in a positive way for them than Cardano. I mean, they had a complete open, unrestricted crowd sale with KYC and AML. Huge amount of founder control over that project still today. 3,000 plus stake pool operators. Project financing was done as a Reg S offshore offering and selling vouchers. ADA was never sold in an ICO to anybody. And I don't understand what basis they have to differentiate between Ethereum and Cardano. And the problem is that they can just say stuff, but that stuff that they say has no legal bearing unless they're prepared to go and sue. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. Haven't done that yet, haven't even talked to anybody yet. They just say stuff. And what they do is they bully regulated entities into like Bakkt and the Robin Hoods and others into a corner and force them to do something. But, I think it'll get resolved. Longer term, a law is going to get passed and introduce a bridge between an asset being a security and an asset being a commodity. And we tried to do that with the Lummis bill, the Financial Innovation Act, the Lummis-Gillibrand bill. And we introduced this concept called an auxiliary asset that would allow that bridge to exist. In the short term, it looks like the judiciary is going to have to sort all of this out. And if I was the SEC, I would not want to roll the dice there, because they're looking at things like the Chevron doctrine and other long-established pools of power, which aren't necessarily going to work the way that they want them to work. Because it's likely the judiciary will strip power from the administrative agencies. So there's nothing to do right now. It's certainly just something to watch. The game plan we have as an ecosystem of SIP 1694 and the MPO and these other things is exactly what you do in these types of situations. And when the full government of Cardano turns on, you guys are going to have to get together and decide how much legal insurance you want to purchase, i.e., should Cardano as a protocol actually hire a law firm and do stuff? because I can't speak for it, or can the foundation, but the government of Cardano certainly can, and would argue that it has
Hey, good
standing.
evening.
We'll leave it there. Not sure what happened there whilst he was talking, but yeah, you know, ultimately, I think he's kind of echoed, or we've echoed, because that came out quite obviously before this video. Cardano as a project is brilliant. You know, whenever I speak to anybody that brings up criticism, or they say, I don't like Cardano, I don't like Charles, I say, why? I say, well, do you know how Cardano works? You know, and the usual answer I get is, well, yeah. And I'll say, well, okay, well, how does it work? And they won't be able to tell you. So we still think Cardano is a fantastic project. We're still very optimistic on it. Governance is something, the Voltaire era is upon us, or soon to be. There's a lot of unfairness in this. Again, this is a power grab for the SEC that they could end up losing, and it actually could be a silver lining that turns out right up we're at this double bottom point that turns out, or potential double bottom point that turns out in our favor. We will see. You know, we're still big fans of Cardano. We still run a stake pool. ALLIN is the ticker, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, for anyone that wants to stake with me, to say thank you for these videos. And of course, if you know, it doesn't cost you anything, you get ADA. Be much appreciated. Yeah, steer the course. Stay positive. I think this is going to all get resolved. We're very excited for the future of Cardano, but in the immediate term, like I've echoed in regards to the price action, for me, it's a case of sitting on my hands and waiting and seeing what plays out, seeing what levels get taken, and playing off of them. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed the content, like us, appreciate it as a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section.